They say betrayal by blood cuts the deepest. But no one ever warned me what it felt like when your own sister looks you dead in the eyes, smiles sweetly, and stabs you in the back while the whole family watches. I used to believe family meant safety, tradition, honor. Now I know better, because the night my sister stole from me wasn't just a betrayal. It was a public execution. We were gathered at my parents' house for what should have been a celebration. Dad had just announced his retirement, and Mom had cooked enough food to feed a village. Roasted lamb, garlic bread, homemade pies. Air smelled like warmth and comfort. Everyone was there, cousins, uncles, family, friends, even neighbors who barely knew our last name. And of course, my sister. Danielle always knew how to work a room. Her laugh was loud, magnetic. Her hugs too long. Her compliments just sharp enough to hurt. She sat beside me at the table that night, swirling her wine, whispering things in my ear like, "You're brave wearing that dress. You still haven't done anything with your career. Don't worry, some people are just meant to bloom later." I ignored her. I always did, because Danielle was beautiful, successful, married to a man with expensive shoes and shallow dimples, and I was just me, a struggling writer with a part-time job and a bank account that winced every time I used my card. But what I had was something none of them knew, something no one saw coming, until Dad stood up. He tapped his glass, the room quieted. Before dessert, said, "I have one more announcement." I felt my stomach tighten, because I knew what was coming. For months, Dad and I had been talking privately. After his stroke last year, I moved back in to help him. Took him to appointments, handled his medications, held his hand when he cried because he couldn't tie his own shoelaces. Danielle visited once. She stayed for 20 minutes, posted a photo for Instagram, and left before the soup got cold. So, when Dad told me he wanted to change his will, I wasn't surprised. He said he was proud of me, grateful. He wanted to give me the family house, the one with the garden, Mom built from scratch, the one we grew up in. I begged him to talk to Danielle. First, he refused. "She's always taken from you. It's time you get what's fair." So when Dad pulled out a stack of printed papers and announced that the house worth over $700,000 would be mine, the room exploded. Mom dropped her wine glass. My cousin gasped, and Danielle just smiled. For a moment, I thought she hadn't heard him. Then she stood up, and with the calmest voice I'd ever heard, she said, "It's fair." Everyone turned to look at her. She walked slowly to Dad, leaned in, kissed his cheek, then whispered, "Thank you for reminding me what this family really is." Then she turned toward me. Her smile grew sharper. "You think you won?" she asked, just loud enough for me to hear. "This isn't over." I didn't know it then, but she meant it. That night I inherited a house. But by morning, everything I thought I owned, my home, my peace, my family, would begin to vanish. And Danielle, she was just getting started. The day after the dinner, I drove to the house. Dad had given me the spare keys, handed over the deed, hugged me like he was finally at peace. I was supposed to feel victorious. It's like I'd finally stepped into the role I'd earned. But the minute I pulled into the driveway, I knew something was wrong. The porch lights were on. The garden hose had been moved, and when I slid the key into the front door, it wouldn't turn. I checked the deed again. My name was there. It was mine. Rang the doorbell. No answer. I walked around to the back, pulled open the patio, door still unlocked from before, and there she was. Danielle sitting at the kitchen table, barefoot, drinking coffee like she owned the place. "You're trespassing," I said. She looked up, totally unfazed. "Am I?" she replied. "Didn't Dad say we should share everything in this family?" I stared at her. Her tone was light, but her eyes were daring me to make a move. "How did you even get in?" She smiled. "You'd be surprised what you can get when you ask nicely, or cry, or remind people you're the golden child." I called the police. When the officer arrived, Danielle met him at the door, already in tears. "She's trying to kick me out of my childhood home," she sobbed. My father must have been confused. He loved both of us. Look, I even have an old deed. See, my name's still on this version. The officer looked at me, looked at her, then said, "This looks like a family matter. Maybe take it to civil court." He left, and I stood there, alone, in front of a house that was legally mine, occupied by a woman who was rewriting the story, faster than I could hold on to it. That night, stayed in a motel, and while I lay in bed staring at the popcorn ceiling, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Check your bank account. Love, D." My stomach dropped. I opened the app. Savings, $8.13. Checking. $32.17. Gone. Everything. I called the bank. They said a transfer was made that morning. Joint account authorization, the rep explained. Approved by Danielle. It was never a joint account, I shouted. The rep hesitated. Actually, we received a notarized form changing it. 2 weeks ago. I felt like I was falling into a pit that had no bottom. She had gotten into my account, somehow forged my approval, and no one questioned it because Danielle knew how to make her lies sound like truth. And me, I was just the sister with messy hair and unpaid credit cards. I confronted Dad the next day, told him what she was doing. He looked stunned at first. Then he frowned. "She came to see me last night," he said slowly. "Cried, told me she regretted everything. Said you too could fix things if I gave her a second chance." I clenched my fists, and you believed her. He didn't answer, just stared at his hands like they had betrayed. Him too. Danielle was stealing more than money. She was taking my voice, my credibility, piece by piece. And the family was watching it happen, some in silence, some in quiet approval. But I wasn't going to stay quiet anymore if she wanted to turn this into war. She had no idea who she'd started a fight with. My father died 2 weeks later, quietly, in his sleep, the way old men are supposed to go when they finally let go of their regrets. Except, I wasn't sure if he'd actually let go of anything. Not after what I found in his study. The will, his final one, dated 6 months before he passed, was tucked behind his bookshelf. Signed, notarized, clear, everything. To me, the house, the investments, his shares in the family business. Danielle wasn't mentioned once. I stood there staring at it, trembling, because this wasn't the version read at the funeral. That one had been updated. 2 weeks before his death, according to the family lawyer, split 50-50 between us. The room had gone silent when it was read. Danielle had squeezed my hand as if to say, "See, he forgave me." But she knew. She knew the real will had never been revoked. And if I hadn't gone digging through Dad's bookshelves, I'd have never known either. I brought it to the lawyer, demanded an explanation. He looked genuinely confused. "This isn't the version I was given," he said. "Who gave you the other one?" I asked Danielle. She brought it in with Dad's signature and a notary page. My voice dropped. "Who was the notary?" He checked her friend. A woman named Carla Pinter. Fake. All of it. Danielle had forged a will, and the entire estate had been sliced in half based on her forgery. But she wasn't done, because at the funeral reception, in front of all our relatives, she clinked her glass and stood to make a toast. "To Dad," she said, teary-eyed. "He always believed in second chances. And he always said what's fair is fair." Then she turned to me, raised her glass, and added, "Even if some people can't stand to share." The room chuckled awkwardly, but I felt it like a slap across the face. She had made me look greedy, entitled, like I wanted it all and couldn't. Stomach fairness. They didn't know the truth. And Danielle was controlling the narrative like she was reading from a script. Inside was a single item. Dad's wedding ring? The one he hadn't taken off since Mom died. There was a note. "You always thought you were special because he gave you more. Now you have everything. Accept him." No signature. But the ink smelled like her perfume. Not for legal battles, not for another conversation with the family. Something deeper. I started collecting everything, screenshots, surveillance, digital records. I hired a private investigator, and within a week, he found the smoking gun. Video footage grainy but clear enough of Danielle entering the notary's office with Carla. 2 days after Dad's death, not before the signature, after, they had faked the entire will and forged my father's hand, after he was already in the ground. So I leaked it to a small blog that covered inheritance, fraud, and estate scams. Anonymous. Dip with the video. The real will. And a full timeline. The headline, 2 days later. Sister V's sister heiress accused of faking father's will after death. It's exploded. Family members started calling me. Some apologized, some denied ever. Doubting me, one aunt even tried to blame Danielle's behavior on grief. But Danielle didn't flinch. She went quiet too. Quiet. She hadn't gone into hiding. She was planning something, because someone like Danielle doesn't lose and walk away. She retreats, rebuilds, and then strikes harder. But this time, I wasn't going to just defend myself. I was going to bury her lies for good. 2 days after the article went viral, a reporter reached out. She asked for a comment. I gave her one line. She stole more than money. She stole truth. And now the truth is stealing her back. That quote ran in every repost, TikTok, and Reddit thread discussing the story. I became a quiet hero. Danielle, on the other hand, vanished from public view. But the investigator I'd hired, he found her. She had checked into a wellness retreat in Utah, the kind of place rich people hide when the shame gets too loud. But she wasn't alone. Guess who checked in with her? Carla Pinter, the fake notary. It wasn't a retreat, it was a strategy. Room while Danielle hid. I got to work. And the best part? She left me something. Something she didn't realize was incriminating. Her personal laptop when she ran. She only took the essentials. Everything else, clothes, bags, junk, was boxed and left behind in a storage unit. And guess who had the key? Dad's estate manager. And guess who he trusted now? Me? I took her laptop to a data forensics expert. Password protected. But the password was a joke. Fairness 2023 within 10 minutes. I had access to everything. Hundreds of emails, voice memos, drafts of statements she planned to release if things got out of hand. And one folder titled, "Just in case she fights back inside," were screenshots of my texts. It's my financials. Even a recording of a phone call I had with my therapist. She had been collecting dirt on me, planning to paint me as emotionally unstable. But that wasn't even the worst part. One audio file labeled dadfinaltalk.mp3 stopped my heart. I pressed play. My father's voice came through, weak, distant. "Why are you doing this, Donnie?" And Danielle's voice. "Because she always wins, and you always let her. I gave you chances, sweetheart. You gave her everything. She earned it. I survived you both, and now I get what's mine." Then click, end of file, no threats, no shouting, just a daughter breaking her father's heart. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But something inside me shifted. This wasn't just fraud. This wasn't petty rivalry. This was systemic destruction. And I realized this wasn't about fairness. It was about erasure. She didn't just want the money. She wanted the legacy. She wanted to take my name and wear it like it was hers. And that meant war. I uploaded the audio. Then I matched it with footage from Dad's funeral. Her fake crying. The toast she gave, the smug little smirk, spliced together in one brutal 90-second clip. Captioned, "She didn't just fake the will, she faked the tears." It went viral again. This time, it crossed into national media. She wasn't just Danielle anymore. She was the sister who stole a legacy. And the comments were merciless. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Hand-delivered, no stamp. No postmark. Just my name on the envelope. Inside, a check for $1.2 million. And a sticky note attached. "Let's just call it fair now." I laughed out loud. She thought I wanted the money. She still didn't understand. I mailed the check, back threaded into confetti. Then I called every board member of Dad's company, sent them the audio, the emails, the public statements. One by one, they cut ties with Danielle. She'd been trying to take Dad's place on the board now. She was blacklisted one night later. Car pulled up in front of my house. Black, unmarked. A woman stepped out. Sunglasses, gloves. She handed me a flash. Drive and said one sentence. There's one more thing you need to see. And it didn't come from Danielle. Then she left. My name is Maya, and until the day of my father's will reading, I genuinely believed I came from a family that loved me. We were gathered in the same grand living room where we used to spend Christmas mornings. The room hadn't changed. The golden chandelier still hung low. The fireplace still bore the etched initials of my parents. And the mahogany table still carried the weight of memories. But the people in that room, they were different. Or maybe I had never seen them clearly. I sat between my fiancé Leo and my Aunt Carol. Across from me sat my older sister, Danielle, flawless as always, in her ivory blazer, legs crossed confidently. That smug smirk tucked subtly into the corners of her lipstick mouth. The lawyer unfolded the papers slowly, deliberately. He read my father's voice aloud, word by word, and I waited. I waited for the line I knew would come, ... to my daughter, Maya. But when it came, it wasn't what I expected. ... I leave the family home to Danielle. As for the business and remaining assets, they too shall be passed in full to Danielle. Silence. The breath was knocked out of my chest, like the room had gone under water and I was sinking with it. I blinked. Surely. There was more. My heart pounded louder than the lawyer's voice as he concluded, ... and to Maya. I leave the bronze watch that belonged to my grandfather, a symbol of legacy and time. A watch! A watch! Danielle's eyes glimmered with triumph. And before I could speak, before I could even breathe, she turned to me with the fakest smile I've ever seen and said, "It's fair." Like those two words made the theft of my inheritance justified. Like fairness was something she had the right to define. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just betrayal, it was war. After the will was read, I left without a word. Danielle called after me in her sugar-dipped voice, "Come on, Maya. Don't make this dramatic. She took everything. That house was my childhood, the business. I helped build it while she was off in Paris finding herself. The will didn't make sense. My father had always told me I'd run the company one day. We used to work side by side in the bakery, early mornings, flour-dusted aprons, him handing me coffee as we reviewed numbers. Danielle hadn't touched a spreadsheet in her life. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Leo tried to call me. "We'll fight it," he said. But that night, something ate at me. A memory. A flicker. A week before my father died, he'd told me we need to review the books together next week. Danielle's back, and I want transparency. But the review never happened. He died 3 days later. A sudden stroke. The timing was too perfect. I couldn't sleep, so I started digging. I searched my father's computer, password, protected. But I remembered something. He always used the name of his favorite dog. Marley, followed by a year. It worked. Inside, I found emails, and one stood out from Danielle. Subject line, "Urgent, need changes done before the signing." It was sent to his lawyer, marked confidential. The attachment was gone, deleted, but the timestamp. 2 days before my father's death, my stomach twisted. Had she? No, it couldn't be. But then again, it could. I started visiting the bakery more often. Was still technically mine, at least half, though Danielle now strutted through it like she owned every brick. She had even fired 2 of our longest-standing staff members. Her explanation: they didn't fit the new vision. When I confronted her, she smirked again. "Maya, stop acting like this is some crime." Dad made his choice. "No," I said. You made it for him." She froze, then whispered, "Careful, you sound paranoid. People might think you're unstable." Aleph, trembling. That night I broke into her office, not with force. I still had a master key. Inside her drawer, found a stack of documents. Most were contracts rewritten, dated just days before Dad's death. They'd been notarized, yes, but something was off. Different handwriting on the witness line. I took pictures, and then I found the letter. It was folded, yellowed with age, from my father. To be opened only. In the event of suspicion or contestation, a breath caught. I opened it. It read, "If you are reading this and something feels wrong, trust your instincts. I've changed nothing. If Danielle presents new documents, investigate. She has always wanted more than what is hers." Tears spilled. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I was right. And Danielle was a fraud. I went to Leo. We copied everything. Emails. Contracts. The letter. I hired a private forensic analyst to examine the signatures on the new documents. The results were devastating, but in the best way. They had been forged. My father's signature wasn't real. Even worse, Danielle's boyfriend, a notary, had stamped them. A clear conflict of interest, and potentially a felony. But before I could act, something happened. I received a video from a blocked number. It was a recording me in my apartment, crying, screaming, punching a wall. It was the night of the will reading. The message attached. "Sure you want to play this game? I have more." I knew that voice. It was Danielle. She was watching me, recording me, framing me as unstable, just like she warned. The battle wasn't just legal now, it was psychological. But I had learned something in that moment. She was scared because I had the truth, so I set the trap. I arranged a fake meeting with the family, claimed I had decided to let it go. I knew Danielle would be there. Hidden cameras in place, hidden microphones too. And then I laid out a fake document. Confession. She took the bait. She smiled and said, "Too bad you didn't find the backup drives." That's where the real signatures are, not the ones we faked. I had her on tape. 3 months later, I hosted a family dinner. Everyone was there. Even the ones who stayed silent when my sister stole everything from me. My aunt, my uncle, my brother, my parents. Even her Rachel. She walked in with a smirk, like she still owned the room. She didn't know. Not yet. I stood up with a glass in my hand and smiled. "Thank you all for coming." I thought it was time, for the truth. Everyone looked around, confused, nervous. Then I pressed play on the TV behind me. Video after video began to roll. Rachel emptying my safe. Rachel forging documents. Rachel laughing, saying, "It's fair." She always got more. Audio of her manipulating my parents. Screenshots of secret accounts in her name. Gasps filled the room. My father stood frozen. A mother cried. My brother stepped away in shame. And Rachel, she went pale. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You wanted to steal my life? Now everyone knows who you are." She lunged at me, screaming, clawing. But 2 police officers entered from the hallway. They were waiting. I had already filed everything, already exposed her to authorities, already protected myself legally. Rachel was handcuffed right there in front of the family she used as pawns. She screamed, "You ruined me." I whispered, "No, you did that to yourself." The footage went viral online. She lost everything. The fake companies, the stolen trust, her social image. Family members who once ignored me. They apologized in tears, but I didn't smile. Because this wasn't victory. This was survival. It's fair. She once said when she stole everything, "I had ... now I say it too, but this time with her behind bars and my life finally mine again."